Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Today is launch day for Lorcana, that is Disney's new CCG. So I'll be making several videos, a couple of unboxing videos, and a video about how to play the game in general, with a few comparisons to Magic the Gathering, because that used to be my jam. So make sure you check them all out. Let's go over some of the basics of playing the game. Plus, I get to show off a couple of their other products from Lorcana. We have a deck box and deck sleeves. Of course, I opted for the Mickey box and the matching sleeves, since Mickey is the face that runs the place. We're going to be using the Aurora and Simba starter deck, Sapphire and Steel. So just like with Magic, you have a 60 card deck. We'll put that in the slot labeled deck. And you draw 7 cards to start. Okay, and there is a mulligan rule if you don't like your hand, or if you don't like some of the cards in your hand. Let's say I don't like these 3 guys. You can put those on the bottom of your deck, draw 3 cards, and then shuffle your deck. And then you're stuck with whatever you got. Now, in Magic, you have mana to pay the casting cost for your cards. Well, in Lorcana, you have an inkwell. How do you get cards into your inkwell? Well, any card that has this symbol around the cost can be sent to your inkwell face down once per turn. So let's say you want to use Smash, put him into your inkwell. You'll show it to your opponent just to prove that it has this symbol around the border of the cost. Put it face down. Now, Smash is in your inkwell. Nothing that's on this side of the card matters again. Not the color, not the cost, nothing. It's forever face down in your inkwell. Now you can use him as generic mana or ink to cast a card or to play a card from your hand. Let's see, we have Captain Hook and Develop Your Brain that we can play. So, to use this ink, turn it sideways, or exert it, or in Magic terms, tap it. Then put Captain Hook in your in-play area. Now, just like in Magic, you have summoning sickness. In terms of Lorcana, the ink is still drying. When a character first comes into play, they can't be used for questing or challenging, or for their abilities. So, we'll move on to turn 2. Now, your turn is made up of 2 phases, the beginning phase and the main phase. The beginning phase has 3 steps: ready, set, draw. That's just like untap, upkeep, and draw in Magic. So, ready, or untap, upkeep, if any of your cards in play have text on them that can be used during this turn, now's the time to do it. And draw. Now we'll go on to our main phase. In your main phase, you can play a card. You can use a character ability that doesn't require them to exert. You can use an item ability. Or you can take an action with a character that's been in play since the start of your turn. That includes questing, challenging an opponent's exerted character, or using an ability that does require them to exert. So, let's see, what would I do here? Well, let's go ahead and get some ink into the inkwell. We will put Coconut Basket in there, show it to our opponent, thus proving that it has that symbol. And we will play one of these cards. Let's go ahead and get out Aurora. Now, again, the goal is to reach 20 lore, and you get lore by questing. Captain Hook has been out a turn already, so he can quest. He can actually do one of two things. You can either challenge an opponent's exerted character. Well, our opponent right now doesn't have anything. Or you can quest with him. Quest, you exert him, turn him sideways, tap him, and you would gain this many lore. However many is on the right hand side near the bottom. So you would gain 1 lore. We'll do that. Move your counter up to 1. And boom. Tell your opponent to go. Alright. Next turn. Ready, set, draw. Ready. Set. Nothing special going on. And draw. Okay. So, again, everything is looking pretty good. We're going to try and get Maui out as quickly as we can. Of course, it looks like it might take 8 turns, but there are other ways of getting ink into your inkwell. So let's put poor little Flounder into the inkwell. Now we've got 3 there. And we can either smash. If our opponent had a card, you could deal 3 damage to a character, whether it is exerted or non-exerted. So it's a direct damage card. We use Mama Tala, who is a 1/1 for 2 and quests for 1. But when this character is banished, you may put this card into your inkwell face down and exerted. She becomes more mana whenever, or ink, whenever she is whenever she would be put into the graveyard or discard pile. Develop your brain. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Put 1 into your hand, the other on the bottom of your deck. That sounds like a wonderful idea. So, there are 3 types of cards. There's characters, items, and actions. We've seen characters, Captain Hook and Aurora. These are like creatures in Magic. Actions can be like instants or sorceries in Magic. You use them once, put them into your discard pile. And finally, we have items. Items are like enchantments or artifacts. They stick around and you can use their ability. And you can even use their ability on the same turn that they come into play. One thing I'd like to mention here before we go any further. Even though you have a 60 card deck like Magic, you draw 7 cards like Magic, you can also put 4 copies of a card into your deck, just like with Magic. However, one difference is you can only use either 1 or 2 different colors. Here we have Sapphire and Steel, or blue and gray. In Magic, you can have a 5-color deck. Not so in Lorcana. Just a monocolor deck or a 2-color deck. That's it. That's your only choices. But that's okay. Now, so we were going to use Develop Your Brain. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Put 1 into your hand, the other on the bottom of the deck. Put our hand here. Okay, so we have Ransack or Mickey Mouse. Ransack, draw 2 cards, then choose and discard 2 cards. So these Develop Your Brain, Ransack are helping you get through your deck and find exactly what you're looking for. Mickey Mouse, get a clue, a 1/3 for 3, who quests for 1. Get a clue. When you play this character, you may put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. So that seems really good. We'll go ahead and get him and put this card on the bottom of our deck. So now you can, since our opponent still doesn't have a character out, we can go ahead and quest with both of these. And we'll gain 3 lore. On our next turn, we ready, set, draw. Ready. Nothing to set. Draw. Now, here is something interesting as well. We've talked about putting cards into the inkwell to use as ink or mana. And we talked about the symbol around the cost. Here's a card that doesn't have that symbol, so you can't put Mickey Mouse Detective into the inkwell. You can, however, cast him this turn. Before we do that, let's go ahead and put Smash into the inkwell. Okay, so now we'll pay 3 ink, or exert 3 ink, for Mickey Mouse. When you play this character, you may put the top card of your deck into your inkwell, face down and exerted. So, we're getting closer to being able to cast Maui, who is just a big, bad dude, just like the character. Okay, so once again, no opponents. So we can quest, but we can't quest with Mickey yet because he just came into play. So we get 3 more lore, moving us up to 7. We'll look at combat next. Let's say on our opponent's turn, they'll cast Rafiki. Rafiki has Rush. That means this character can challenge the turn that they're played. So Rafiki comes into play, and they'll go ahead and challenge, let's say Aurora. That would probably be the smart choice. So what happens now is they'll trade damage. So each character has strength and willpower. That's like attack and defense in Magic. As you can see, Rafiki has strength 3 and willpower of 3. Aurora has strength 2, willpower of 2. I think you can see what's going to happen here. Rafiki will deal his 3 damage to Aurora. You can put 3 damage there. And since the 3 is greater than her 2, she is going to be banished. But also, Aurora will get to deal her 2 damage or her 2 strength to Rafiki. We'll put 2 damage tokens on him. So, Aurora is banished. And the 2 damage that she dealt sticks around on Rafiki. On to the next turn. Ready? Set. Nothing to set. And draw. Simba. Okay, great. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in our inkwell. And we can put a 6th one there, should we so choose. Again, you can't put Simba into the inkwell because he doesn't have the inkwell symbol. So let's put a Grandma Tala in there. So you now have 6 cards in your inkwell. Pay 5 for Simba. And Simba says, during your turn, Whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you gain 1 lore. Okay, so now, since Rafiki is exerted, I could challenge him. He still is going to deal his 3 damage, but he can only take 1 before he is banished. So, either one of these characters would be banished as well, because they can only take, Mickey can only take 3, Captain Hook can only take 2. Mickey deals 1 damage, Captain Hook deals 1, however, when he challenges, he gets +2. So he would deal 3 damage to Rafiki. However, that doesn't really matter here because Rafiki's already got 2 damage on him. We'll go ahead and challenge Rafiki with Mickey though. So to do that, announce that you're going to challenge, exert Mickey, and trade damage. So Rafiki is going to deal his 3 damage to Mickey. That's going to be enough to take him out. And Mickey is going to deal 1 damage to Rafiki. That'll be enough to take him out as well. So they're both moved into their respective players' discard piles. Okay, so I think you see basically how to play the game right now. There's a couple of interesting abilities I wanted to go over. Rush, which we've seen with Rafiki, is basically the equivalent of haste in Magic. This character can challenge the turn they're played. You can't quest with them, so you can't gain lore, but you can challenge. We have evasive, which is basically the equivalent of flying in Magic. Evasive, only characters with evasive can challenge this character. And even in the art, you see Goofy is flying there. It's almost like the designer of Lorcana looked at Magic and said, okay, well, we want to have flying. It's going to be flying, but we can't call it flying. So let's call it, I don't know, evasive. Yeah, that works. Oh well, it works for me too. And now we have Bodyguard. This character may enter play exerted. An opposing character who challenges one of your characters must choose one with Bodyguard if able. So this is the equivalent of Taunt in Hearthstone. You have to go through this guy to get someone else. Like if your opponent has Rafiki and they have Hercules, let's say I wanted to use Simba to try to knock out Rafiki. Well, I can't. I've got to get Hercules first because he has Bodyguard. So let's talk for a minute about songs. Songs are an action card like any other, except they have an alternate casting cost should you so choose. Sudden Chill here normally has a cost of 2. However, any character with cost 2 or more can be exerted to sing this spell, or I'm sorry, this action into play. For example, if you have Genie in play, you can exert him to pay for the cost of Sudden Chill, and any ink in your inkwell is still usable for other spells. A note about singing. This says a character with cost 2 or more. Now you can't use 2 Duke of Wesseltons to add up to 2 and pay for Sudden Chill. Not going to happen. But you can use a character that costs more. Now, there's also some characters that have the attribute of Singer. Sebastian here could normally sing in spells that cost 2 or less. However, since he has Singer 4, then his casting cost counts as 4 for the purpose of singing in spells. So, Sebastian could be used to cast Hakuna Matata, which has a cost of 4. Now, there are also some characters that have voiceless, such as Ariel on human legs. Voiceless just means this character can't be exerted to sing for spells or to sing songs. Finally, the color of the character being exerted does not have to match the color of the spell. So Tinkerbell could be exerted to sing in Hakuna Matata. Alright, so that's some of the basic play and some of the differences and similarities with Magic. You can see a lot of the numbers line up the same, with 60 being the number of cards in the deck, 4 being the number of copies of a card you can have in your deck, 20, that's your life points that you start with in Magic, and it's the lore you must reach in Lorcana. Again, one of the big differences is that you can only have 2 colors in your deck. So, yeah, lots of differences and similarities. If you've played Magic, you can grasp Lorcana pretty quickly. Another difference is you can only challenge exerted characters. And it's pretty much the opposite in Magic. You attack the player, and then they would block with an untapped or unexerted character or creature. So that's a little bit different. But it's pretty easy to pick up on and change things around in your head a little bit. But if you've never played Magic, I think Lorcana is still going to be pretty easy to pick up, pretty straightforward. It might even be a little bit easier than making all the comparisons and switchovers from Magic the Gathering. So anyway, I hope you play Lorcana and enjoy it. It seems to be a pretty fun game. All right. See you next time. Jesus loves you. Bye-bye.